Really? Hey, yo.
So that's number 2.
What you gonna live? You gonna live my hey, yo. Who did another one, young man?
San Antonio's dynasty was supposed to be history, yet one freak blood clot scare nearly sidelined their 7'4" alien. A 2-week Shaolin-monk boot camp sharpened him into something scarier, and now whispers say the Greek freak's private jet keeps filing Alamo-bound flight plans. Rivals thought they had a decade to prepare. Instead, the Spurs just compressed the timeline into a powder keg. 9 future first-rounders, a Rookie of the Year combo guard, and the league's most menacing unicorn are staring at the rest of the NBA like prey, and the clock on their takeover is already ticking. How did the league's quietest franchise rearm this fast? And what happens when the final piece falls into place? Stay locked in, because the moves you haven't heard about are the ones that will blow everything up. On May 2, 2025, the winningest coach in NBA history slid upstairs as full-time president of basketball operations, handing the play calling to 37-year-old protege Mitch Johnson. Between the Adrian Griffin swap, the DeMar DeRozan exit, and that infamous DeJounte Murray heist, summer 2025. By then, Wemby's rookie deal still protects the cap. Dylan Harper and Carter Bryant will be on year-one salaries, and the franchise can press the accelerator without flirting with the first apron. According to multiple team staff leaks, Pop even had interns color-code the roster by telepathy potential, his shorthand for players who process reads within half a second. The idea: build a team that thinks quicker than opponents can rotate, then weaponize Wemby's 7'4" wingspan in every imaginable scheme. Behind the scenes, Johnson is already echoing that vision. Sources inside the Spurs practice facility say the new coach ran a June minicamp where no possession was allowed to last longer than 6 dribbles. Even veterans were benched for hesitating. The message is clear. San Antonio's next act won't grind opponents down with monotonous sets. It'll drown them in decision-making speed. Yet blueprints are fragile. One unexpected medical setback nearly detonated the entire schedule when Wembanyama's right shoulder developed a blood clot in February. In a single CT scan, the Spurs' 2-year flip teetered on disaster. How the organization, and Wemby himself, responded over the next 5 months may become the defining chapter of this rebuild. Victor Wembanyama's second pro season was roaring toward a Defensive Player of the Year finish, until a dull ache in his shooting arm turned into a hospital sprint on February 20, 2025. Doctors found a deep vein obstruction in the subclavian vein of his right shoulder. One AP explainer warned that athletes who rush recovery risk chronic swelling, or worse. 6 weeks later, the 7-footer vanished, re-emerging in China, bald and barefoot, living sunrise to moonlight with Shaolin monks. For 10 days he rose at 4:30 a.m., drilled 1-inch punch push-ups, chanted sutras, and jogged crumbling stretches of the Great Wall before sneaking out for clandestine protein bowls. By late May, Reuters reported team doctors had cleared him for full contact drills, provided he stays on blood thinner microdoses through August. For San Antonio, the answer hardly matters. The franchise has staked its entire rebuild on those rewired veins. And while Wemby was perfecting kung fu footwork in Deng Fong, Popovich's draft room was cooking up an even bigger ambush. One that would steal Dylan Harper at number 2, Carter Bryant at number 14, and leave every TV pundit scrambling to rewrite mock drafts. Commissioner walks out, card in hand. With the second pick, the Spurs select Dylan Harper. One Twitter refresh later and the league is in a group panic. Popovich just paired a 7'4" alien with a 6'6" left-handed chess master who averaged 19.4-4.6-4.0 on an SEC-like slate as a Rutgers freshman. Harper isn't just numbers. He's championship DNA in sneakers. Father Ron owns 5 rings with Jordan and Kobe. Brother Ron Jr. is already grinding for minutes in Detroit. Scouts nitpicked his 33% 3-ball and ball-dominant style, but the Spurs saw something else. A lefty who keeps defenders guessing with gear shift dribbles, feeds lob targets without looking, and forces mismatches by simply being bigger than every other lead guard. Put that in a side pick and roll with Wemby's 9-foot standing reach and the geometry of help defense implodes. 12 picks later, San Antonio struck again. Carter Bryant, a 6'8" wing who swatched shots like a small ball center and drilled 37% from deep, somehow slid to number 14. National writers later called the pairing of Harper and Bryant the steal of the round, noting how perfectly each solves the other's blind spots: size at point of attack, length on the wing, and floor spreading without sacrificing defense. 1 basketball. That's the puzzle Greg Popovich left on Mitch Johnson's desk the morning after the draft. Stephon Castle just became the second straight Spur to win Rookie of the Year. Storm posting nightly lines that mirrored a young Drew Holiday with an extra gear on defense. San Antonio doubled down on jumbo creators by drafting Dylan Harper, another 6'6" initiator who thinks 2 passes ahead. The problem? De'Aaron Fox is already in the building. Still lightning in transition, but suddenly the third youngest voice in a backcourt choir. Fox arrived 4 months ago in a 3-team blockbuster that sent Zach LaVine to Sacramento and a stack of picks to Chicago. On August 3rd, Fox becomes eligible for a 4-year extension worth roughly $229 million. Money big enough to crowd a cap sheet built on rookie-scale bargains. He's on record saying he would definitely hope the Spurs slide that offer across the table. Keep Fox and lean into a 3-guard hydra that can blitz any defense but risks logjams for Castle and Harper. Flip Fox for a veteran frontcourt star, keeping the ball in the kid's hands while vaulting Wemby into immediate contention. Privately, Johnson is testing both timelines. Early mini-camp scrimmages paired Fox with Harper in double drag sets, letting Castle moonlight as a wing stopper. Results looked lethal but cramped. A second unit with Harper solo piloting the offense flowed cleaner, and word from staffers is that Castle's voice already echoes like a locker room metronome. Rival scouts are split. Some see positionless poetry if 3 tall creators master a 0.5-second read and react. Others predict a chemistry fracture the first night Castle or Harper watches crunch time from the bench. One Western Conference GM summed it up: they've got too much octane in the same lane. Something's getting rerouted, and soon. What reroute? The loudest rumor won't die. Fox plus picks for the Greek Freak if Milwaukee stumbles again. Whether fantasy or blueprint, the mere whisper is shaking depth charts across the league. And that's where we go next, because if Popovich truly has eyes on Antetokounmpo, every dribble Fox takes in a Spurs jersey might just be an audition tape for someone else's highlight reel. The timing felt scripted. Damian Lillard's left Achilles rupture left the Bucks without a co-pilot, and Giannis Antetokounmpo, fresh off another MVP-caliber season, ended his presser by dodging every long-term question in sight. ESPN's cap tracker shows San Antonio sitting about $32 million below the first apron, with 7 mid-tier contracts that slot perfectly into superstar trade algebra. Combine that with 9 first-round picks between 2025 to 29, and you have the NBA's equivalent of an open bar. Just grab a star and go. League insiders see 2 blueprints. Fox-centric flip, De'Aaron Fox plus 2 unprotected Atlanta picks and the lightly protected 2027 Bulls first. Milwaukee gets an all-star guard who keeps its window cracked. San Antonio opens a Harper Castle backcourt for the next decade. Depth bomb package, send Carter Bryant, Stephon Castle, and a pick glut. Keep Fox for pace and space insanity with Giannis and Wemby. Here's the bottom line: if Giannis becomes available, no team can outbid the Spurs on both picks and clean cap sheets. If Milwaukee keeps him, the constant speculation still tilts leverage towards San Antonio, because every what if further unsettles the East and drives fringe stars westward. But none of it matters without the right pilot on the sideline, and that's why all eyes now shift to 37-year-old Mitch Johnson, the rookie head coach charged with weaving rumors, rookies, and Wemby's rebuilt body into a single ruthless system. On the morning after draft night, Caesars still had San Antonio at plus 4,100 to win the 2026 title, barely inside the top half of the league. By the following Monday, as Giannis rumors and minicamp footage saturated social feeds, multiple shops had slashed that number to plus 2,200, leapfrogging the Lakers, Nuggets, and Warriors. Vegas doesn't set culture, but it never moves billions on a hunch. Executives from Phoenix to Portland suddenly penciled Spurs into every summer strategy memo. Yet the louder the hype, the clearer the hairline fractures look under the spotlight. Wembanyama's veins of glass doctors call upper extremity DVT a repeat offender. Even after surgical clearance, scar tissue or mechanical stress can trigger a second clot, sometimes years later. The medical team's microdose protocol helps, but an errant elbow, a long flight, or a playoff minute spike could reboot the nightmare. Rival trainers privately bet the Spurs limit Wemby to 65 games, which would torpedo any MVP chatter and test Mitch Johnson's orbital hub when its gravity source rests. Fox's slumping scope since landing in San Antonio, De'Aaron Fox's three-point clip has sagged below 31% and his usage plunged, the steepest dip of his career. August 3rd extension deadline looms at 4 years, $229 million. If the front office balks or dangles him for Giannis, the league's fastest engine could morph overnight into a disgruntled rental. Stephon Castle owns the keys to Johnson's defense and a Rookie of the Year trophy. Dylan Harper arrives wired to pilot crunch time sets himself. That creative redundancy is champagne until the scoreboard sticks and someone watches from the bench. Meanwhile, Carter Bryant, draft steal or not, still stumbles when asked to dribble through traffic, a flaw NBA draft scouts label his primary swing skill. The 6-8 stopper risks becoming another 3 and D role player instead of the switch everything glue envisioned. Youth versus Yellowstone pressure. No corner of the roster is older than 28, and 4 core players can't legally rent a car. The NBA schedule punishes inexperience. Back-to-backs in Denver altitude. Christmas Day magnified under network lights. April scouting reports that target every shortcoming. One mid-season skid, say, Wemby's load management week or a Fox hamstring tweak, and the collective bandwidth culture gets its stress test in real time. Sportsbooks don't price those intangibles, but anonymous execs do. One Western GM texted a reporter after the Giannis rumor cycle, if they miss the trade and Fox walks, morale nukes faster than a March Madness upset. Another framed it this way, they're building a Formula One engine out of teenagers. Spectacular if it fires, catastrophic if one piston cracks. So the stakes are binary. Either Popovich's war chest and Johnson's 0.5-second gospel forge the league's next empire, or the weight of swollen expectations, fragile health, and ball dominance clashes detonates a super team before its first playoff sprint. Up next, we pull back the zoom lens for the final verdict, recapping every gamble, every rumor, and the ticking clock that will decide whether San Antonio engineers basketball's next dynasty or its most dramatic implosion. History says San Antonio rarely guesses wrong. They stole Tim Duncan in one tank season, found Hall of Famers at picks 28 and 57, and incubated Kawhi into a Finals MVP. But history also warns that empires shatter when expectations race ahead of experience. By the 2026 trade deadline, we'll know which story repeats. So stake your claim now. Does a roster of barely legal talent, a war room of draft capital, and the NBA's most radical play speed manifesto script the next great reign, or the league's loudest cautionary tale? Drop your verdict in the comments, hit like, and buckle up. The clock is louder in San Antonio than anywhere else, and it just started echoing league-wide. Conclusion: San Antonio's master plan is a live experiment, with every variable set to explode or transcend. They've stockpiled 9 first-round picks, elevated a 37-year-old speed scientist to head coach, fused a 7'4" anomaly with 2 jumbo playmakers, and still hold enough cap space to lure the league's most coveted superstar. Yet all that promise balances on a needle. Wembanyama's clot-scarred shoulder, Fox's looming $229 million decision, and the volatile chemistry of a roster so young it can't rent its own parade buses. If even one piece falters, the hourglass turns to shrapnel. If every cog meshes, the NBA will be chasing shadows for a decade. Dynasties aren't born, they're engineered, sanded, and stress-tested under blinding lights. We're watching that assembly line in real time, and the margin for error is thinner than Wemby's wrist. So, which grain of sand tips first? The one that cracks the glass or the one that fuses it into something unbreakable? Let me know your call in the comments, and stay tuned. The Spurs clock is ticking louder than ever, and the next chime could either signal their coronation or their collapse.